Islam.
Let's see what happens in the other video when you have a chance to So, pardon the interruption. Um, experiencing some technical difficulties. So, we're reading from First World Order, Alim Bey, speaking about the Continental Congress, the first 8 presidents that we listed, and how 3 of them were Masons, however 4 of them were not. Now we have presidents under the Articles of Confederation. Okay, so number 1, John Hanson, November 5th, 1782 to November 1783. Number 2, Elias Boudinot, November 4th, 1782 to November 1783. Okay, um, what's the name of his book? Elias Boudinot was the author of a book called Boudinot. Boudinot. This is
Elias. Okay, so while they're looking that up, I remember the mention was that the founding fathers were Masons, right? So if we go to Blacked Out Through Whitewash, page 42. The founding fathers and all the U.S. presidents were Masons, except Lincoln and Kennedy. Masons and other secret orders, such as the Rosicrucians and Illuminati, are patterned after the sacred mystery schools, universities of ancient Egypt. The word Mason means child of the sun and is derived from the African terms sons and daughters of light, or children of the sun. The sun symbolizes enlightenment, hence these metaphors mean enlightened people. The Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution are Masonic documents written in Masonic code and have different meaning to members and Masonic orders. That's how it goes when you're streaming live. You get enough interruptions. All right. So the founding fathers and all the U.S. presidents were Masons. And then it says that these Masons or other secret orders are patterned after the Sacred Mystery School University, ancient Egypt, right? So if this is the case, why is it that Masons wear fezzes? Oh yeah, it's frozen. Why is it that Masons wear fezzes? How come it's so hard for people to accept the reality that the Egyptian, if Masons, if the school of thought called Masonry is said to have come from the sacred mystery schools of ancient Egypt, and all Masons wear fezzes, right? There's another piece that's missing. Just like when they say the founding fathers, right? Speaking about the founding fathers, you're talking about we the people are the founding fathers, not the people who are in charge of the government or the people that set it up, right? So the presidents of the Continental Congress, with John Hanson being the head, are the founding fathers. And then those founding fathers taught the people that average people say are the founding fathers, starting from George Washington, right? And then they'll tell you that he was a Mason, and they have pictures of him with his apron and everything. But they were taught by the Aboriginal and indigenous people of the Americas. Those were the people who taught the people that they call the founding fathers that they teach in history books, right? So it's important that we put the pieces together, because the reconstruction of history has to do with them reconstructing history. It has to do with them taking certain things out of circulation and leaving certain things in circulation to cause this confusion, right? So with us being conscious, knowledge of self, know thyself, whatever we want to call it, there must be some type of flags or something that goes up, if because we're gonna back Suzar. Everybody has this book. Everybody has Blacked Out Through Whitewash. If you don't have the book, you got some type of pages, pamphlets or something. Somebody photocopied 50 pages of this and gave it to you and said, read this. When we started, when you're coming into consciousness, you bump into Suzar's information, right? And based on Suzar's research, the Masons and other secret orders are patterned after the sacred mystery schools of ancient Egypt. And then George G.M. James, because we're going to bring his name up a lot, because he's one of the only people that mentions the handing over of the succession of power from Kemet when it fell to the Moors. And he's the only person that talks about it. And Moors talk about it. Other than that, nobody talks about that connection between Moors and their family, that we would say ancient Egyptians or Kemetans or Nubians, or those people, right? If there's no history or documentation or information of the people who were in control of the sacred mystery schools of Egypt wearing fezzes, why is it that these Masons who patterned everything that they have after the ancient Egyptians, why are they wearing fezzes? That because we have to bring certain things to light, and being that it's Family Day here in Canaanland, and it's President's Day in the U.S. democracy today, right? We're gonna deal with the president issue, because we have to recognize that we the people, we're the family that set up everything. It wasn't them, the Europeans that came over here, that set up everything. It was us that had everything set up from the jump. And then they came and they adopted what we founded, and then buried us. Well, not buried us, because I'm Moorish American, but buried people out there who don't want to recognize that they're the founding fathers of this great republic. That everybody's gonna rep Kemet and rep the fact that, yeah, we were the people that built the pyramids, but the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill, nobody that's Negro, black, colored, or conscious is claiming that pyramid. But they're gonna play Sudan pyramids. They're gonna claim pyramids in China. They're gonna claim pyramids on Mars. They're gonna claim pyramids on the continent. They're gonna claim pyramids in Australia. They're gonna claim pyramids in America. But the pyramid at the back of the dollar bill that they have in their pocket, or the fiat note, debt note, the pyramid on that, they're not gonna claim that. They're gonna take that and they're gonna give that to the Illuminati and say that's their symbol. When Illuminati, just like Suzar saying, are the secret orders such as Rosicrucians, and are patterned after the sacred mystery schools of ancient Egypt. The word Mason means child of the sun, and is derived from the African terms sons and daughters of light, or children of the sun. The sun symbolizes enlightenment, hence these metaphors mean enlightened people. So it's not a demonic, satanic order. It's enlightened people who choose to keep the fact that they're enlightened secret. And then that's the secret. of the societies or orders that these people belong to. It's extremely important that, being that it's not common knowledge that there were presidents with melanin before Barack Obama, and that he's not the first to do that. The $2 bill has John Hanson on it. The brothers just showed the blown up picture that you can see on the $2 bill that there's a difference in the skin tone on the $2 bill between all the individuals that are in that picture, right? And the two brothers in the picture, right? One of them is sitting underneath a cross that's in the door, right? And you do the research on the founding of Washington, right? That goes back to Benjamin Bay, right? Benjamin Banneker, who was also a brother that was setting up or involved in the setting up or getting things in place for these pseudo individuals to have a position in government with regard to its moving forward. So when we say the founding fathers, realize that that's not the Europeans starting from George Washington. The founding fathers were the Aboriginal indigenous people before them, before the Continental Congress, that were already in this land, and like we don't have to go into it. Just go research, do your research. They came before Columbus, Ivan Van Sertima, and
Another one
Saga America,
Saga America
Barry Fell,
by Barry Felt.
and
Wow,
you'll find out about
excellent.
the history
Excellent book.
about us dark-skinned people in this land before Europeans came here, and that we are the founders. We are the founding fathers. We the people, and the people labeled Negro, Black, Colored are the people that we're trying to wake up to get them to realize that they're the founding fathers, to take their position again. Because if they don't take their position, don't worry. The Moorish movement is still gonna steamroll through everybody, just because it's that time right now, right?
Yeah, and then so speaking about the founding fathers, right? I stopped at Elias Boudinot, right? The reason I stopped was because I recognized that name. Where did I recognize that name from? Okay, there's a book called A Star in the West, published 1816. Okay, Elias Boudinot is the author of A Star in the West. So after he finished his term, long after he was president under the Articles of Confederation, he wrote this book called A Star in the West. Right, and just a hint as to what it's about. So A Star in the West, right, or the subtitle is, or a humble attempt to discover the long lost 10 tribes of Israel, preparatory to their return to their beloved city, Jerusalem, by Elias Boudinot, LLD. Okay. So from the subtitle, it's talking about finding the lost 10 tribes. And the book is called The Star in the West. Now go and read it for yourself and you'll put the pieces together, but he's talking about different tribes and peoples who are indigenous to this land and their connection with things like the Hebrew language and um, different concepts, ideological concepts and religious concepts, etc. Right? So and then quickly out of A Saga America, as a back cover, it says, Dr. Fell describes how Thomas Jefferson had suspected a relationship between some some American Indian and North African languages. In Jefferson's spirit, Felt pursued his researches in North Africa and found astounding confirmation of his discoveries, both in contemporary documentation and in enthusiastic recognition by North African scholars. Saga America is not simply a book of assertion, it is profusely illustrated with the physical evidence and is a startling amplification of the pre-Columbian history well established in his early career, America BC. Okay, so we have stuff like that, right? We have taught presidents, especially the earlier presidents, you notice, just like they wrote entire books about this stuff. Like, imagine Barack Obama writes a book saying, yeah, I think that, there's a big connection between Hebrews and North Africans and the people we find here in the Americas. Because everyone's read Dreams of My Father, right? And everyone's read, Obama's biography, right? But Elias Boudinot was a president under the Articles of Confederation. Right? That's one of the most key times of, if you're talking about you want to celebrate President's Day, those are the guys you want to celebrate. Because they were the ones, before things were smooth, they were the ones getting things done, organizing. So John Hanson, number 1, Elias Boudinot, number 2. I'll just finish the list here. Neither of them are indicated to be a Mason, right? Number 3, Thomas Mifflin, November 3rd, 1783 to November 1784, signer of the U.S. Constitution. Richard Henry Lee, November 30th, 1784 to November 1785. 5, John Hancock, November 23, 1785 to June 1786. He was also the first to sign the Declaration of Independence. Nathaniel Gorham, June 6, 1786 to February 1787, signer of the U.S. Constitution. Arthur St. Clair, February 2nd, 1787, January 1788, a Mason. Okay, and then 8, Cyrus Griffin, January 22nd, 1788 to 1789. So that list now for these 8, and that's 8 different people. One of them, Arthur St. Clair, was a Mason. Right? The other 7 were just people, guys who wrote books about a star in the West after they retired. Right? So you have to look into these things, right?
And then speaking about looking into things, let's just put some things into perspective, right? Now, again, we're going back to Suzar. We're going back to Suzar, and this is copyright 1999. All right. It's copyright 1999, page 45. And America's true first president was a black man named John Hanson. So this is Suzar now. Right? The first president under America's first constitution, better known as the U.S. Articles of Confederation. 7 other presidents were elected after him, all prior to George Washington, who was really America's 9th president. Washington was the first president only under the U.S. Constitution. The new country was actually formed on March 1st, 1781, with the adoption of the Articles of Confederation. Once the signing took place, a president was needed to run the country. American revolutionary leader who helped raise money, weapons, and political support for the revolution, John Hanson, was unanimously elected President of the United States in Congress assembled on November 5, 1781. General George Washington himself, a member of Congress, congratulated Hanson on his elevation to the most important seat in the United States. As America's first president, Hanson accomplished much in his one-year term. He took office just as the Revolutionary War ended. Almost immediately, the troops demanded to be paid. As would be expected after any long war, there were no funds to meet the salaries. As a result, the soldiers threatened to overthrow the new government and put Washington on the throne as a monarch. All the members of Congress ran for their lives, leaving Hanson as the only guy left to run the government. He somehow managed to calm the troops down and hold the country together. If he had failed, the government would have fallen almost immediately and everyone would have been bowing to King Washington. Hansen established the Great Seal of the United States, the first Treasury Department, first Secretary of War, first Foreign Affairs Department, the postal system, the consular service, a national bank, the Thanksgiving holiday, and much, much more. Key thing to point out is that, according to Suzar, John Hanson was America's true first president, and he was a black man. So if in 1999, Suzar came and said that there was a black man that was a president, right, before Barack Obama came into office, then even the talk of Barack Obama being the first black president is a fraud. Because Suzar said, and nobody refuted her book yet, right? Nobody said, nah, that's not right. You know what I mean? We have to, you know, ban this book. You can get this book today, still. So the idea of the first black president is a fraud, right? Because Barack Obama wasn't the first, according to Suzar. There was a president before by the name of John Hanson. Now, if John Hanson now is going to establish the Great Seal of the United States, then he knows himself. So he's obviously not a black man either. If we want to go into, because according to history of the black man's a slave. The black man is from Africa, and he was enslaved in America. That's who the black man is, according to what people say, according to what they write in books to try to justify Black History Month and all the other black stuff that they follow. There's no way that this man, John Hanson, is a black man. It's impossible. Because the degree of knowledge that he has to create the Great Seal, that's not black man's intellect, right? That's high scientist intellect. I have a cousin by the name of Benjamin Banneker, and he's designing Washington, D.C. also. And just like the first president, John Hanson, Benjamin Banneker, everything that he laid out was based on ancient Egyptian mystery system information, right? The obelisk and certain things that they teach that he built with regard to the capital city, right? All these things, buildings, all these things are based in ancient Egyptian mystery school information. And if that is the case, then there is a connection between Egyptians and Moors and Masons. And the reason why this thing played out the way that it did in the first place, right? Think about it. The fact that there was presidents prior to George Washington that nobody knows about until Moors started talking about it. If Moors didn't start talking about it, it wouldn't be common knowledge amongst the conscious people. Because Moors have a certain obligation to put information out to the public by producing literature. It's if we're saying that we're Moorish American and we're not putting out any literature, we're doing a disservice to the movement. We're doing a disservice to humanity, because humanity needs to know these truths, right? And when I say Moors talking about it, I'm not talking about people with fezzes. I'm talking about Suzar said it, that we founded this. Suzar's a Moor. I don't care what you guys call her. But anybody that has dark skin, they're a Moor by definition, right? So keep in mind who the real founders are, right? Keep in mind who taught the Masons what they know. Why are they wearing fezzes? Like we talked about a few classes ago. Why are they wearing fezzes with Mecca and Sheba and all these Moorish slash Egyptian names? Why? What's this connection between Egypt and Moors that everybody else is willing to accept except the people who it's really about? No, and we talked about that about the heavy sorcery that's going on, right? Like the heavy sorcery. Think about how many people honored from George Washington forward those presidents and didn't even mention John Hanson and none of these people. And the great seal that he created is on the bill today still, and they're still not repping John Hanson, right? It's obvious conspiracy to destroy the legacy of the Moors. If people can't see that and think that we're biased by saying that, then we're biased by saying that, because it's obvious that there's a suppression of the history of the Moors, whether it's school, whether it's at your community center or whatever. As soon as Moors come up, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about the Arabs. Forget those Arabs. Let's talk about our ancient culture. Well, the, it's like with what Edna Gorham Bay was talking about, that right before Black History, December 31st, 1491 is Moorish history, and as soon as 1492 hit, then Black History came in now, and now you don't know anything about Moorish history anymore because you're looking at it from the perspective that, well, the Europeans are in power. Well, they're only in power because they're using Moorish birthrights. They're only in power because they adopted the Moorish Empire and everything that was part of it. Why do you think that they were able to go in? Like, think about it. How are they able to go into a country, a continent, and carve it up? Like they say so themselves. They say that they went into the continent and everybody got a piece. How? How are they able to go and do that when there's people there that are willing to die for where they live? How are they able to do that? By adopting certain things. Why do you think in the Congo they had Moors with fezzes, right? They display it in the documentary, White King, Red Rubber or whatever it is. Yeah. Right. With Belgium. Right. With Belgium and the Congo and all this with trying to get the rubber. And his brothers in fezzes with no tassels that they're using as the army to go and take their own people's stuff. Right? Same thing I'm saying. Adopting the Moorish ways and implementing it. What did the Klan do? Same thing that the KKK did. That's not some European garb that they're wearing and cone hats. That's not their stuff. That's our stuff. That's Moorish attire. It's even documented as that. There's Greek Orthodox Christians that in this city that have their own temple that dress like Klansmen, but their things are black and nobody tells them anything. They have a TV station and everything, and they show their service and all that. looking just like the KKK, except it's black instead of white. Greeks, Orthodox religion, right? So we have to really take serious our position, because everywhere on the planet they want to institute the democracy and destroy the republic. And the republic concept was founded here. The idea of republics is based on the Moroccan Empire and the fact that anybody, no matter who you are, you have a right as a living being to live peacefully amongst all other people. And then you have a right to receive peace. And nobody can violate that right. That's the foundation of them even being able to, like, why are they able to come over here in the first place? Why would we even let them in? They didn't just, dock their boat and just walk on the land and do whatever they wanted. We let them in here. We gave them permission to come here. We gave them, wives. They weren't raiding some Indian stuff. And like, where are they getting blankets from and all that stuff? That they're gonna put disease in a blanket, and that's the trade. We're gonna take some blanket, like we're idiots, right? Right? We can take a buffalo hide or whatever and make a blanket, or we can knit something. All these cotton fields over here that they had slaves picking didn't come just from slavery time. They always been here. So we could have made clothes. We're gonna give up land, give up all these things that we hold sacred for blankets, and we're gonna buy that. That's the story. Only black people buy those type of stories. Negroes and colored people buy those stories, right? Just like the slave story. Show me a slave ship. Just like, Black History Month. Have you noticed that nobody's talking about Black History Month this month? Do you notice that there's everything's happening in order to divert your attention away from Black History Month, because it's not important. No one cares about it. To tell you the truth, majority of the people are fed up with it.
Right. And that's one of those things again where you know it's true. Just it's not to point blame or anything like that, or to put anyone out, but just be true to yourself. Ask yourself, like, just you don't even have to ask people, just feel the vibe when they look at you, like, yo, you guys still doing that black thing, that Black History Month thing? Like, really? You guys doing that still? So, and it's not, it might be out of ignorance, but we're breaking down here what the correction needs to be and why it needs to be, right? Some people do know. Some people do really know. Like, okay, you guys got to get on the nationality thing. Yo, hurry up with that. Like, what's going on? You can't be black. I'm something. Everyone else is something, right? Some sort of, what does the prophet say? Heritage, a name, right? That they can trust you by. That links you with the family of people, right? The human family. Black doesn't link, right? There's no link there. So there's no trust, right? No trust means no, right? No business, no commerce. Right? No commerce means, yeah, People just do whatever they want to you. Mistreatments and abuses. So again,
just before you just like what you just said, no trust, right? No trust. So there's no trust with blacks. Trust from a law perspective, because everything that we do is law perspective. So we're not talking about trust as far as you know your ability to allow give somebody the black, right? To be able to turn your back on somebody because you trust them. We're talking about from a law perspective, right? So trust in general, a right of property, real or personal, held by one party for the benefit of another. See Goodwin versus McWin. A confidence reposed in one person who is termed trustee for the benefit of another, who is called the cestui trust, respecting property which is held by the trustee for the benefit of the cestui trust, or they say cettique trust. Any arrangement whereby property is transferred with intention that it be administered by a trustee for another's benefit. A fiduciary relation with respect to property, subjecting person by whom the property is held to equitable duties to deal with the property for the benefit of another person, which arises as the result of a manifestation of an intention to create it. An obligation on a person arising out of confidence reposed in him to apply property faithfully and according to such confidence, as being in nature of deposition, by which proprietor transfers to another property of subject entrusted, not that it should remain with him, but it should be applied to certain uses for the behoof of third party. A trust can be created for any purpose which is not illegal and which is not against public policy. Collins versus Lyon. Essential elements of trust are designated beneficiary and trustee, funds sufficiently identified to enable title to pass to trustee, the actual delivery to trustee with intention of passing title. Citibank Farmers Trust Company versus Charity Organization Society of the City of New York. And then there's many different types of trust from a law perspective, right? So the trust that Negroes, blacks, and coloreds don't have is what was set up for them by their prophet as a trustee, holding something and waiting for the beneficiaries to come and claim what's theirs. The Moorish movement is way deeper than what people see it as, because majority of people with regard to the Moorish movement have been taught by people who aren't in the Moorish movement. And if they were taught by people in the Moorish movement, they were taught by people in the Moorish movement who wanted to keep the trust, or who wanted to keep the um, the powers of the beneficiary to themselves and not share it when it was supposed to be given to everybody, right? The butter was supposed to be spread on the bread evenly, right? And that wasn't done. So we have to eliminate the ability to not be beneficiary to the trust, because the only salvation that we have is in the trust that was set up, and the trust is sitting there for us to claim. But if we're not going to claim it by claiming to be something that we're not, then the abuse and everything else would pretty much continue, right? And continue until we ourselves put a stop to it, right? So I just wanted to put that out there with regard to the trust that we were talking
like I said, because of that, right? because of that lack of trust now, everything that trust, right? The having faith in another person, believing that they'll stay true to their promise, right? That builds, that's the foundation for
Love,
what? For the lawful trust that you actually read in the dictionary. And then that lawful trust, those lawful trusts are what, people talk about. This is the trust fund. This is the TVO trust fund. This corporation trust fund. It's not, a trust doesn't have to be an incorporated thing. It's based on trust. So the trust fund isn't like registered or anything like that. It's like money, money, money. And such corporation is the beneficiary and can use it according to the conditions laid down in the trust, um, under the supervision of the trustees or whoever's the holder in due course, etc. Right? And it's all international trust law, right? Again, we want to make sure that, especially Moors who are watching and wondering what's really going on and what's the plan. Then, if you're really interested, like, it's not about um, getting anybody to having anybody get you something, or us trying to get any kind of recognition from anyone else. We want you to recognize yourself as we the people. Okay? So it's like that now, that recognition, right, brings you onto a level where, if you want to talk about trust law now, we're talking about international trust law. If you can't trust the world, then yeah, good luck. Like, at least to a certain degree within contract, right? And that's why Taj teaches how to work, how to live within contracts, right? Because we talk about these things, we're talking about contracts. I just want to go back to this is President's Day today, so um, some of the presidents after the Continental Congress. We went into presidents of the Continental Congress. That many of them were Moors, and that fewer of them were Masons than the presidents after. So, like, the first 8, 3 of them were Masons, and then the next 8, only 1 of them was a Mason, right? But they're all Moors, and most of them were Moors, and even one of them wrote a book called A Star in the West. That was Elias Boudinot. Okay. So this president that I'm going to speak on is Warren Gamaliel Harding, 1865 to 1923. Okay. He's the 29th president of the United States after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Was he poisoned by his wife? Did he die of a heart attack or stroke? Was he wiped out by the mob? We believe the U.S. government did a 1-2 elimination. The question remains, did he die at his own hand, a heart attack on record, the hand of his wife, or from a mysterious government conspiracy because of his blackness? Government conspiracies were not uncovered in the 1920s by the press. Televisions, computers, and sophisticated research activities to hype or sensationalize a report or story had not been invented. Okay. So I'll just start. Just recently, so this is just a print off that I got. Just recently, I received an email from a reader who was surprised to read that people knew Harding was black. He said, "I did not know that anyone knew Harding was black. My father, who is now dead, was a little boy in Washington during Harding's administration. His uncle was a senator from Cleveland. He was black, passing as a son of a Cuban. I guess he didn't know that Cuba was over 80% black. His name was Vernal Harris." Right. So that's just a little bit on Warren G. Harding, a little bit more. While growing up in the 1950s and 1960s, we were told of our relationship to one of the U.S. presidents. My niece wrote an essay for her senior class explaining the black lineage of Warren G. Harding. She explained, "He could not find work as a teacher in a color school in Ohio in 1884 until he crossed the color line. We were much older when we realized the magnitude of government investigations relating to his candidacy in office. We always knew he was black. We were cousins. It didn't take Joel A. Rogers or Francis Russell to report the dubbed startling discovery to us. The birth records have been recorded in The Old Settlers, A Nation Within Itself, 1988. So that's another title. The Old Settlers, um, subtitle A Nation Within Itself, 1988. And then in that book, it documents, the Harding family. So you have George Tryon Harding II, Warren's father, Mary Harding Norman, shown in the first picture, first cousins. See, that's that there, right? And then Warren Gamaliel Harding, 29th president, Emma Norman Harding Todd, third cousins. Marshall Todd, fourth cousins. Marsha Todd Stewart, fifth cousins, etc. And then it documents his ancestry. And that's just how people live when they're not in their own perspective, right? Negro, black, and colored. Because some of the people are more fair skinned, some of those people are, married in Europeans and whatever. But you know what I mean? That's a global reality, right? And Negroes, blacks, and colors that don't want to acknowledge like reality are going to be treated with misuses and abuses, because that's how people treat people who don't deal with reality. And that's just if you're lucky, because really they throw you in an insane asylum. Like, okay, they get 3 square a day, and give you some toys to play with and stuff, but you're not dealing with reality. Like,
I just wanted to read the definition of trustee. Trustee, the person appointed or required by law to execute a trust, one in whom an estate, interest, or power is vested under an express or implied agreement to administer or exercise it for the benefit or to the use of another, called a cestui trust, CESTUIQUETRUST. In a strict sense of trustee, a trustee is one who holds the legal title to property for the benefit of another, while in a broad sense, the term is sometimes applied to anyone standing in a fiduciary or confidential relation to another, such as agent, attorney, bailee, etc. Trustee is also used in a wide and perhaps inaccurate sense to denote that a person has the duty of carrying out a transaction in which he and another person are interested, in such manner as will be most for the benefit of the latter, and not in such way that he himself might be tempted, for the sake of his personal advantage, to neglect the interests of the other. In this sense, directors of companies are said to be trustees for the shareholders. Which brings us to Noble Drew Ali, right? And the same way that the Moors, initially, the Moors of the Continental Congress were the trustees, right? They were the ones with the power to trust through a mandate and trust the Europeans with land over here to do certain things. And the beneficiaries of that arrangement, right, were the Europeans. But they had 50 years to do that. And then every 50 years they get an extension, right, on their beneficiary ship, because they can't really be the beneficiaries, right? It's just like with in the lodges, they can't really be 360-degree Moorish master masons. So they have to be 33 degree, right? They couldn't really be the president of the United States of America Republic, so they had to be president of the U.S. And well, it was more so because the indigenous people of this land deal with things from a natural perspective. So the you wouldn't put an unnatural being in power of something natural. You would create something unnatural for them and let them control that. And they would have certain stipulations. So that's why there's a difference between the U.S and the U.S.A. Right? It's two different jurisdictions. Right?
So you're saying is that, because I wanted to ask you about that's the difference between the 33 degrees and let's say the 360, it's a level of awareness or a level of being.
Right. Because if we do it like look at it from the perspective of a circle, and 360 degrees in a circle, right? But 33 of that is very, very small compared to 360 degrees.
So that's the analogy as to what.
So what level of, as far as they say, like we're talking about earlier before you came about people being called Illuminati, and then Illuminati meaning enlightened people. So their enlightenment is 33 of 360 degrees.
Right. Small.
Which is small.
But still greater than 90% or 98% of the people possibly.
Right.
Whichever people.
Yeah. Right. But that's what they were given. That's how many degrees they were taught. Right. Because somebody had to have 360 degrees in order to give them 33. Right. And they can't just say, well, yeah, we're 33 degree Masons, so this is how we do whatever we do. Okay, well, why are you only 33? Why aren't you 34? Why aren't you 200 degrees? Right? Why is it this this number? Why there? Right? And then that goes into the science of the 33 degrees and 32 degrees is freezing. And 33 degrees you start to thaw out, right? At 360 degrees you're the sun. At 33 degrees, or below, you're starting to turn into ice.
So basically, at 33, you just barely reached.
You're just getting your nostrils out of the water to get air. You know what I mean? Right? That's how out of it you are. Right? So yeah, like you're saying, yeah, they have 33. It's more than 1 degree, but 33 degrees isn't really anything, right? And if like if we look at it from what you're saying now, you're saying 33 degrees is nothing compared to 360. Then how are these people ruling the world? If they only have 33 degrees, like what is it that has them so powerful to everybody else?
That small fraction.
With that small fraction, 33 degrees of 360, and people are giving them.
Wait a minute, if you think about it, that's probably 9%. Right? Because 10% would be 36.
Right.
33 is probably somewhere around 9.
Yeah, around there.
I'm just thinking about number 9,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I just came
around there. Right. But let's go on that level. So if it's 9, then that means that's the furthest that they could have went, because 9's completion.
That's right.
So either they're stopped inside the door, and that's where they're gonna be, or they're stopped outside the door, and it's now for them to go pick up the other whatever else that you want to get, because we can't teach you past 33 degrees. we have to, we can only teach ourselves past certain people, right?
I guess that would be the next question. That's how the level of enlightenment would come from your own.
Right.
Could one of these people then get that knowledge?
Knowledge is accessible to everybody.
Especially now.
Information at your fingertips right now. And the equivalent of, like, metaphysically, water is knowledge, right? And Aquarius is the guy with the pitcher pouring the water out, and the water's just flowing out of the pitcher right now. For as long as the Aquarian age goes on for, is how long this guy's going to have this pitcher pouring out knowledge onto the planet. All right. So for 2,000 years, we're going to have, it's knowledge time. Get knowledge or perish. Know thyself or be in darkness. Right? Being brought into the marvelous light. Like what Noble Drew Ali was saying. Taking us out of darkness into the marvelous light. Bringing us way past those 33 degrees. Right? Because even at his time, like we talk about, well, the founding fathers were Masons. Right? But everybody has a problem with Masons. Everybody has a problem with Masons, but they're supporting Masons by even being part of the United States. Right?
Somewhere there's been some rule pulled over, or there's a control structure, and they seem to be in control of it.
And that's what we're talking about.
This is why I'm here. Part of what I start to see the signs, I start to say, these people are running a lot of stuff here. So these are the people that I need to get connected with.
Yeah.
And something held me back, and I didn't go through the ritual. And then inevitably within 2 years, I met my brother here, and I'm here. It's some force stopped me from going through with that. There's a force that had called me to them, and they found it interesting that that's what I had said. In some of this reading that someone did me too, it talks about sort of these rituals of after-death rituals.
Yeah.
And this is where I then start thinking about the sort of the spiritual side of things.
Right.
Mostly how all this stuff is some of it's preordained, or at least there's stuff that's.
Right. So I mean, because what we initially started on was because it's President's Day in the U.S. So we're talking about the first president, John Hanson, and Moore, and all that type of stuff, right? And get into this part where you're talking about now that there's been a wool. It seems like we don't know, like we're missing keys. So other people have keys and they know certain stuff, but then we're kind of in the dark about certain things, right? Which causes us to not be in the position of power.
No, that's it starts us to sort of die in on ourselves.
Right.
Feeding off of ourselves.
Yeah.
Negative way.
Right. And if whether somebody else is feeding off of you or you're feeding off yourself, then you're obviously dead. And if you're dead, then you must be brought back to life. And the only way to bring you back to life, right? Just like you're saying, you were gonna go to the death crypts. You were gonna go to those guys, thinking that,
well, they represented
they
my
represent
plane of thinking at that time. They represented. This is why I've been torn with. There's a natural energy in here, let's say, right? The energy of enlightenment, or the spiritual energy. But then it seems that we're continually being. I was walking along here just now thinking, shouldn't each one of us be this light that is able to generate the finances, let's say, that we need to continue on?
Yeah.
And I sort of started thinking about how we're torn between sort of this enlightenment, which is magical, which I think will result in everything we need, but still then thinking we need a spot.
Yeah.
You don't have any money.
Right.
And then thinking, well, wait a minute, now I'm dealing with stuff that, like what I've been understanding is really just crap.
Yeah.
Right? Because money really represents nothing.
Right.
And it's really just this weird stuff. So then, I'm sort of being torn with understanding which way to go, and that's why when I finally fell with these Masons. Let me tell you, after sometimes I would walk the streets and I'd see even symbols, just like saying, I don't know if you see the triangle that's around with the circle.
Right.
The triangle, the square, and the circle are the basis of our foundation. These are magical symbols. And so I don't know. But as I said, something held me back.
Yeah.
And I then realized that these guys, I don't think are good.
Yeah.
Too good. But now I start thinking, because I'm reading this book my brother here gave me again, saying that maybe these are some of the people we need to tap into. Maybe some of them, because they're involved with the power structure, maybe some of them are the ones we need to tap into. Right. Some of the almost ones, anyways.
But before we can, so let's go with where you're going, right? That there's these individuals that we should probably get with because they have a certain degree of information.
Those guys, I don't say they have information. I'm just thinking on that plane of needing, let's say, or something.
Yeah.
Some of these guys might be, at least they've got 33.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sort of starting to think that, hey, it's funny how things work. As I was walking along the street, I met a brother, sort of, who I know he's sort of in the finances and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, these are maybe some of the guys who need to be awoken to, because I sense, if I look at sort of, let's say, the area where my brother lives here, you see that as being an actual war zone.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in the controlled area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm following, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm doing what Slave Boy's doing what he's supposed to do, so he's allowed to be around here, right? Whereas this is an actual sort of demilitarized zone, and the war's on.
Right.
And I'm thinking that those are some of the people that, because really we're looking at trying to get finance to get the word out.
Yeah.
I think, right?
But it's
sorry, just
it's really but it's really supposed to come from the members first.
Right.
It's supposed to come from the people on the inside first. Right. Then the people who are on the inside are the ones going to like what you're saying, right? But in order for you to go, okay, let's say there is a man, right? Let's say you leave here, and while you're on the bus or the train or whatever, you sit down next to a man and he says, you know what? You're talking with him, and he's actually in the position to assist and wants to assist, right? You can't go to him in a civilly dead status, right? You can't speak to him from a slave perspective. You can't speak to him from a civilly dead perspective, right? You have to deal with him what law calls in propria persona, right? In your person.
You're saying that's
in your proper person, right? Not against your proper person, which is what this is what all this is about.
This is what
right?
I am right now.
Right. Because history and law are on the same playing field. And know thyself has to do with history. So that means that it also has to do with law too. Right? And just to read it out, in propria persona, in one's own proper person, it is a rule in pleading that pleads to the jurisdiction of the court that must be pled in propria persona, because if pleaded by an attorney, they admit the jurisdiction, as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after I have obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction.
Right. Basically, from what I'm understanding, is that if my lawyer pleads for me, the very basis that he's an officer of the court puts it within that jurisdiction.
Exactly.
Because I've signed over my, what was it called?
Power.
No, I've signed over my power of attorney.
Right.
So, or my being
right.
to him.
So
the very essence of him doing that en routes it back to them being in control.
Automatically.
Not in your best interest.
Right. not being in propria persona, right? So you go to the dude and you say, yeah, my name is John Smith. We have this organization, and I think that you can help us. And he says, yeah, sure, I can help. Here's the check, right? And then we go cash the check, have the building, and then all of a sudden, somebody comes and they put on their uniform and their hard hats and their batons and they raid the place because they say it's a cult or something. Right. And we say that, oh, it's racism. How could they do that or whatever? It's not that. It's because they obtained leave. They got jurisdiction from me, from you, giving a name that has nothing to do with.
Fine and dandy with that, but what if they had then given that name our temple? Would that have freed us once, let's say, that became? I mean, that's where I find myself now. I've gotten this inside, and I don't. What I realize is, some made a good point. I don't need to rush anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now, though I feel excited. That's part of what I think I can bring to things and energy. But in terms of stuff, just being relaxed, I think is the best way. But what I find myself is being torn because he says just state that who you are, and you have basically freed yourself, right? The minute I say I'm Omar, I'm fine. Right. Yet without sort of what I call this sort of hardware backup. Because of the hard, when I go across the border, and I pull out my passport, you should look at what a passport maybe says, right?
Right.
When I look at my I think you dropped something in between all those things.
If you don't, you could have the paper, you could be nationalized or whatnot.
Put up the volume a little bit more, so
you could have the paperwork, so you could be nationalized or whatnot. But if you don't have the knowledge behind it, then it doesn't mean nothing. So the key is to study. And the more you study, the more things are going to unfold and evolve in front of you. And then you're just going to take your place as the more you're supposed to be.
That's a good point. I think, yeah.
So studying is the key. That's what the prophet said. Study, and study. So like, you get all the paper, but you have no back to with the info and the knowledge that you need to know.
Like there's a reason why Noble Drew Ali said, proclaim your nationality, right? He said, proclaim your nationality, because proclaim means to promulgate, to announce, to publish by governmental authority, intelligence of public acts or transactions or other matters important to be known by the people, to give wide publicity to disclose, right? To give wide publicity to disclose, to announce, right? So that's not something that's going to be done by some paper or a card or something outside of yourself. Proclaim your nationality means that you're the one that has to do it.
The phrase, I think, therefore I am.
Right.
If I'm saying
if you're saying
then I am it. But I guess where you're right, if Tom is right, is that I should have the information to back up why I believe that, because it's the same thing that has got us calling ourselves black.
Right.
Negro. I mean, I thought to myself today, this is crazy. They have us convinced that calling ourselves colored and black, and even Negro at some point, was all right.
Yeah.
I mean, this SHIT has been going on now. I think about it, because back before it was just NIGGER. Now it's colored.
Yeah.
You feel better when a man says he's a colored brother. Or something. Right? And now I'm realizing even African Canadian is a misnomer too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they've got us coming and going.
But see now how is that you know that? That's based on what you have up here.
Well, I knew something was wrong a long time ago, but I'm thinking to myself, if I didn't meet him playing basketball just a month ago, where would I be? And I wonder about that. I wonder about taking that word out to the streets. I'm just, I'm thankful.
Yeah, it's once you become knowledgeable You can't go back. And if you do go back, all you're doing is putting negations on yourself, because you're supposed to know better. Just like Vanguard was saying yesterday, that sin means to miss the mark. Sin doesn't mean you did something wrong or
ignorance,
right. Well, yeah, because if you're ignorant, you miss the point, right? And a point is a mark. It might be a dot or whatever, but it's still a point. It's still a mark that you missed completely, not even considered. That's why the people are living in sin, because they missed the mark of what the prophet brought. Not because they're doing negative things and they're selling drugs or whatever. Do what you want to do, because judgment's going to come regardless if you do something against nature, right? So, like, do your thing, but everything is that 360-degree circle, not only 33 degrees of it, right? So as far as the problem people have is, okay, well, I proclaim my nationality, so now I'm LB, so now I have to go change everything into this new name now. And when I went to this place and I told them that was my name, and they didn't accept it, and they threw me in the madhouse. Well, what do you expect them to do? Do you expect them to just give it to you? Do you expect to just get it just because you say I'm a Moor, right?
You put me in my place, and I
left it because I told him about your situation.
Yeah.
Because I'm bad at something.
Why? Like,
I was
why?
You see, but I was genuine. But wait a minute. But I'm saying the reason why I said why is because I had to go home and think about it, right? But you think about it, the very thing, the law that we're saying is going to set us free, has still been designed to hold
us back.
They still put enough layers on it, right?
Yeah,
We've got to dig through the mountains,
right?
But to be honest with you, this is what I'm saying. My heart is on my sleeve. When I heard that, I was like, it's all over. You know what I mean? He just had to pick me up again and say, listen, brother, just go back out again. I said, okay.
I'm trying to show him, like, we always look to that angle first, like,
well, we've
like
been
the down or the negative part.
We've been beaten down.
Instead of and then looking at the logistics of it, like the real reasoning behind it. Like, if they had let that glide, that means they have to let everything glide.
After that,
they give up their fraud.
But not only that, but you know what?
They can't do that.
But here's every little thing is huge.
But here's what's even more huge. Right. You see, them saying no now, let's put it on record. And that's what my mother said.
Yeah,
she used
to
study law. They have to be studied, and that's why I say from that. I thought about this today too. Part of this new I thought should be involved. Every transcript, everything that we start doing, we gotta have that in place, transcripted, because the very words will come back.
Right.
And right now, they're very what they're doing with the law. Is going to cause them.
Right, but this is the angle too. That remember that colored means fake. Right. So for them to do certain things, right, it could only be done under color. If it's color of law and color of authority also, right? Because color is a broad subject matter, just like fraud is a broad subject matter, right? So just the fact that they're exercising color in order to do something, they trap themselves. They're not gonna come out and say that they trapped themselves, but that's the catch-22. That they can only. It's just like the Europeans who claimed the Europeans who had the brilliant idea to say, let's call ourselves white people instead of Europeans, in order to take over the political seats in the USA Republic government, right? The ones that said, okay, we're gonna call ourselves white people,
which is a connotation to a spiritual level,
right? Not
because now you know what I start to do. I mentally start when I see a European, I start thinking black European. training myself in my mind to
Right.
say that. Because, no, but you'll notice it, because sometimes when I'll say white, and I'll realize it, and that's the training I'm starting to get myself, because spiritually, they are black.
Right.
If they aren't
Well,
doing the right
and
thing,
it's not, and it's
Yeah.
nothing.
we're white Moors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's not racism, and it's
No,
it's nothing
I know, but
to
I
be
mean,
wrong
But what
about.
I'm saying to you, what I've noticed is how much entrenched it is in my
It is,
mind.
yeah, right.
When I turn and I see it, I'm like, because I've been doing it, this mental activity.
Cleansing.
Cleansing.
Yeah. Baptism.
Yeah, but that's what
Exorcism.
But that's what I'm saying when I talk to you guys about somehow not yet having cleansed the spirit completely. That I'm still stuck with a lot of the preconceived stuff that they have forced on me.
But keep in mind, right? Keep in mind that the soul is perfect even in the body of a fool. So it's only just to activate it. Once you activate it, just like you say, you're not going to go back. Once you start the car, why are you going to take it off and then put it in drive? Or put it in reverse or whatever.
Right now the car is in that ignition.
It's in that ignition state, so we're going to take advantage of the spark. Right? And this is and yeah, it's a battle. You know what I mean? Like, it is a battle. Like with regard to,
this is a battle of a war. It's not a battle.
Right.
This is a war.
This is a war, really and truly. Yeah. This is a war, right? But it's a war that's been going on, and it's a war that can't be told in words.
Okay, I don't know. We got off topic,
right?
But
We're always on topic.
Okay, good. So then here's another one.
Never
what
off
about writing? I thought to myself today, what about writing the Moroccan government? Have you done that?
Well, the thing with the Moroccan government is that they're corporate now, right? Majority of the governments are corporate now, which means that they're not the government; they're corporations.
So you're saying that even Morocco has become infiltrated?
For sure.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Well,
yeah,
no,
like
I'm not denying that as being
right. It's not. But
could there be something to us that appealing to them as a corporation that might? Or are we getting ourselves in trouble?
Well, it goes few ways, right? Majority of people have become allies to the fraud of the U.S. Right? So they're getting benefits. So they don't want to lose their little benefits that they're getting from U.S. So they're just gonna keep up the fraud, right? You know, like for example, like Morocco still upholding this relationship when the relationship's not with the U.S. corporation, the relationship's with the Republic, right? Right? But have they been undermined, or are they allies to the fraud? Because
I guess that's where it falls back to my same point, which is basically profit and money having yet again this wicked whatever it is.
Right.
Because I think in some of the reasons, I mean, really they're going against nature for the prospect of a financial gain.
Right. Exactly. Which is a violation to nature. So we don't have to worry about picking up guns to pay them back. They're gonna get theirs. We have to proclaim and start making claims. That's like what Sister Roz was saying, that there's Europeans claiming houses and all this stuff around here.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's vacant. So either it's gonna sit there vacant or somebody's gonna claim it. Right? And majority of people who don't look like us are coming out here. They're claiming everything. They're claiming tax exempt. They're claiming we can get a grant for $2 million because we need a temple over there because we're the sugar religion, and we need a sugar temple to go pray at. And they just got a new sugar temple right on the corner. But Negro black coloreds who's been living on that corner for the past 20, 30, 40 years, they have nothing. They can't make a claim. Right? Even though they should make one, but they're not making one. Like, why aren't you guys making a claim? Like, what's the problem? right?
Us as well as not an entity.
Exactly, exactly. And all of it goes back to Noble Ali and making us an entity again, giving us our light back.
This is what it is with starting with getting reiterating this from Mr. Studying the numbers, getting the numbers up in the temple, becoming some sort of
Organized body. And then when you become an organized body, that's known as a pyramid. And that's why the Europeans are using that symbol for their whatever it is, because they're organized.
But it's also our symbol.
Exactly.
Well, it's also, as well as that symbol, is a symbol of power.
So
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly, right.
And what they've done is they continue to keep us disorganized.
They keep us disorganized by having us call ourselves something that we're not, because that's what causes the disorganization.
Well, that's
right?
on a spiritual level or
Right.
mental level, and physically they keep us out by not allowing us into certain areas as well. I mean, this problem seems to be
Right, it falls into itself.
yeah,
Right.
it's pervasive
Yeah.
all over. They
Yeah.
don't give them the education,
Right.
so they never learn.
Yeah.
They don't have to go to the higher learning schools.
Right.
They keep all the people who have the power in a certain line. All of our brethren who are agreeing with that.
All of our brethren who also have fezzes in secret, and who have collars in secret, and then mayors have collars, and they take care of their own.
The same book that you gave me, saying that the politicians, the clergymen, and the lawyers, they're all part of the Masons.
Yeah. It's no different than a sorority. That's what it is. You join a sorority, and now you have benefits because you're alpha whatever. And you go to anywhere, and any other guy that's alpha whatever, you can just go to his stuff, and he'll give you a discount more than you even knew that you could get. Right?
Yeah. So, well, since it's President's Day, since we're talking about associations, right? There's Masonic associations, and like you said, it's just an association. And what they do, or what certain individuals do, you know what I mean, on their free time, or groups of them together within a subgroup. That's what they do, right? And it's at the end of the day, you have to take someone's word for what they say. That's identity. So we're gonna say we're Moors, and we're not gonna allow other people to call us black or Negro or colored, right? They're gonna say we're Masons and we're Shriners, and we give money to hospital for sick children burn unit. Well, then that's all I'm gonna take it as, and whatever else I've studied, right? Because nowadays there's the whole Freemason, Illuminati, this and that, rah, ray, rah, ray, ray. But if people decide to associate with each other and they happen to have certain things that they do, if you can prove it, then prove it. But if not, let's look into some positive associations. So, this is from Moorish Guideposts. So the New Jersey Temple, page 4. It says the priest asks all to study Constitution. This is a really good article. I read it in another class, but since it's that good, I'll read it again. So this is a picture of Prophet Noble Drew Ali and Congressman Oscar the Priest at the Prophet's birthday celebration. You can see there that he's a brother, right? See the brother sitting beside him. The priest was a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America under the leadership of Prophet Noble Drew Ali in 1928, and with the assistance of the 3,000 Moorish Americans of Chicago, he was able to be elected as the first Asiatic congressman. The priest held his office at Unity Hall, 3140 Indiana Avenue, which is the home office of the Moorish Science Temple of America, so there was a strong relationship between Noble Drew Ali and Oscar the Priest. In fact, the priest also spoke at the Moorish American First Annual Convention held at Unity Hall. There is no doubt that these two constitutionalists worked together to restore the free national standards of law and to make sure every citizen answered up to the constitutional standards of law by names and principles. Prophet Noble Drew Ali strongly emphasized in the divine warning for the nations, for all true American citizens, to help him in his mission to get his people back into the constitutional fold of government. The priest helped to further that mission in a political venue directly to those who claim to know law. Those representatives of our government had a public oath reflecting their fiduciary duty, in which they were sworn in to exercise in good faith according to their understanding. And since the Constitution has been misplaced from the educational teachings of government and the public school system, the Constitution has become the secondary interest to citizens in general. To be a citizen of this National Republic of the United States of America, you must first claim your descent name and have a fundamental knowledge of the laws of this country, i.e. the Constitution, and take an oath of allegiance to support the Constitution of the country and state where you domicile. Right? So there are things I've never been through them, but people go through in order to get citizenship. Right? Now, according to, I know some of them have to do with knowing certain songs, but according to the paper, right? So according to these Moors, it says you have to claim your descent name, right? You have to support the Constitution, and you have to take an oath of allegiance to support the Constitution and the country where you domicile. So there's those things that you have to do, like 4 simple things. It's not that hard, right? It's just an agreement. Again, it goes back to trust. Like, I'll trust you as long as you agree to, live by this.
Sorry, again.
Right? So tell me who you are. Like, if you're coming here, you just came here on a boat, whatever. You just got off the boat. Okay. You say, I want to live here. Okay. First thing I want to know, tell me who you are. Right? Where are you from? Like, where are you coming from? That you're here all of a sudden. Right? Number 2, you have to know the Constitution, know the laws of this land. Right? Number 3, support the Constitution and show it by pledging an oath to the Constitution, right, to the laws. And then number 4 is support the country and the state where you domicile. So you're gonna, you know what I mean? Just you're gonna support what's going on. You're gonna support the laws and you're gonna support the country. So 4 things. It's not a process whereby you have to write a test. It's not a process where you have to sing a song or do a dance, right? It's like, it's common sense. Just like, first, where you're from, right? And then, okay, now we know where you're from. Just document that. Here's our laws, right? Know them and support the laws and support the country. So, right? So, and then that's why it's important to know those laws. But like it's saying here, they started to not teach these laws in schools and definitely not in church. So, if these constitutional requirements are not met by the citizens, we become classified as artificial citizens possessing privileged citizenship regulated by the unconstitutional 14th Amendment, which are the modern day black codes that was founded to regulate the slave trade. Right? So there's a bunch of people who no one's claiming them as, well, this is my servant or my slave or whatever, and they're walking around free, but they don't know the laws of the land. What do you do? Right? Like, what would you do? So,
This 14th, sorry to interrupt, this 14th and 15th Amendment, I've heard them continue to allude to it. Could you give me it in a nutshell? Because this is something I know about studying. I just want to know this.
So, we know that there was the Constitution, which is 7 articles, and then there was the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is 10 amendments that were added on to the Constitution. But after the Bill of Rights is only 10. So after that, how are there's 11, 12, and 13, 14, 12. Basically what happened is the 14th Amendment is something that was added on but wasn't ratified by Congress. Right. So it was like, so there's an amendment, right? Some people think it up, right? Some congressmen and people think it up. They bring it to the House and then they shoot it down. They say, no, we don't want to pass this. Right? people took it and they said, "Oh, look what they wrote." Like they wrote that like slaves are free.
Right.
So they said, "Oh, the Congress said slaves are free." They didn't pass the law. They just like they wrote it up. It might have been 100,000 pages, but they didn't pass it. Right? And the concept was not to pass it because if they pass it, then they'd be admitting to human trafficking, which is
Be, I guess, against the World Code of Geneva.
Against Geneva, and they would be liable. And
so,
right.
Okay, so what does the 14th and 15th specifically do that?
Okay, so I'll go into a little bit. U.S. demo Europeans who have worked feverishly to undermine the Constitution for the United States of North America artfully invented the 14th Amendment corporate person Negro status, which is an artificial person used to secure bonds on their indentured slaves. This is why the Europeans branded the Moors as Negroes, blacks, and colored folks, etc. And this is why the European slaves holding families put their own family names, cognomen, upon the defeated Moors in order to place indenture bonds upon them for registering legal chattel. Name denotes possession, and the U.S. Demo Europeans are 14th Amendment Negro chattel bondholders. The U.S. democracy is that contemporary private corporation political body which is the master corporation created for holding the regulated and regulating those 14th Amendment corporate nom de guerre bonded and branded persons who have been stripped of their names, religion, and nationality. Right?
It's something that allowed these people to brand us with their name because we then had no nationality. By absence of that, became their property because we had no claim to anything.
After the slaves were said to have been freed. So everybody who didn't proclaim themselves to be
more or
free, whatever,
became all of a sudden their property.
became 14th and 15th Amendment.
15th is sort of along the same lines.
The world thinks that the slaves were freed, but slavery just went bureaucratic instead of chains. Like this is when they say mental slavery, this is exactly what happened in mental slavery.
And to back that all up, I'm talking about education for keeping us ignorant.
Right.
They got it.
But that's what you get if you go to the enemy school. Like you can't expect to go to.
Well, what I've realized, as I said in this last week, is that we're on it. I mean, this is our territory, but we are occupied. This is occupied land.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's been occupied land for a very long time.
So, in essence, though, all of our schools have been taken out.
Right.
And rolled. So there is none of that left.
Right. As far as the what's taught in there, right? As far as the lessons, yeah, it's been eroded and it's been dumbed down to a level where, like
I'm teaching you misinformation.
Right.
Keeping you dumb. But what I'm saying is the very, and that's what I find is most interesting. The next level, let's say university level, you could get access to some more of these things.
You're still not getting access.
Well, you're still not, but the very essence, the very nature of high school is to read. We talk about the streamlining and all this kind of stuff. They're streamlining you right out of higher education.
Right. From high school.
From high school. Yeah.
So you don't even consider
going
to the higher.
So you can't even get to the point where you can look at an option of going to history.
Yeah. Right. And it's not even that. They're putting what are they doing? They're putting a mark on you, right? Because they mark you all the time.
That's right.
Every day, every week, they're marking you. So they're marking you up, grading you, putting marks and grades on you, right? And then sending you into an institution, right? And then you're all marked and you're branded up. You have all this B, C plus, A, D minus, F, D, F, C, B, A, all these markings all over you. And then when you come into the institution,
those are spiritual men.
Right, they deal with you according to your markings.
Of course, if your markings are skewed to begin with, and they've lied to you to begin with,
when you're not interested in the curriculum, etc., etc., etc.
The other part of that is because it's spiritually wrong.
But how are you gonna let them mark you? Right, that's the first thing.
I mean, you're stuck when you think about it being, when you're being told that you have to go to school. example. Or at least these are some of the things, right? Before a certain age, you're forced to go to school. Right? Up, I think until you're 15, 16, right? You're a ward, supposedly, at least your parents in the state, right? You're forced to go to, I think, up until grade 10.
Right, but that's the key, right? You're a ward of the state. So therefore, they expect you to be like your ward. Why would
so
you
you
do
have
anything
to
else
go.
but go to school?
Yeah.
I know, but I'm
You're
just
their
saying,
ward.
that's-
Why would you go? Why wouldn't you
I
show
know,
up?
I look at how systemic this is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
Crazy.
beautiful. Those are good points. Like,
And it's specifically set up like that. It's specifically set up so that you're a ward under the parents who's a ward.
That's right.
right.
Right?
You're controlled under the control.
You're controlled under the control of the control.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then when you
And
hit
then
the
if,
age
and
of
if your parents decide to back out, then they can take them out, and then you become a ward of the
Right.
state.
Directly.
And then they take
Right.
you out.
Right.
So if
And
you
then
ain't
they don't
listening,
even lie.
if you ain't listening up to the point when we can control you until
Yeah.
you figure you're an adult, then we can take your parents out and control you.
right.
Yeah. That's when they'll tell you directly that what it really is.
What's really going on?
Yeah, you're a ward of the state now. Like those
right.
those exact words. You are a
Words.
ward of the state.
No, I know.
They'll tell you that.
I know.
Yeah.
I had some issues with that.
Right? So these things are and them doing that is perpetuating the idea of victimization. The idea of okay, well, like people are gonna come into the movement, right? Be all excited to proclaim their nationality and all that, but then, so what do you mean I can't get benefits anymore from the corporate state? Well, you're not a ward of the crown anymore. Why would you want benefits from them, right? Or when people say, well, okay, well, all my money is in the straw name. Like, can't I move my money into my Moorish name? Well, not really, because that's fiat. Like, why would you?
Fiat?
Like fake money, paper money, counterfeit money.
You're saying you couldn't take that money from your one thing into the other? I mean, you could.
Well, I mean, why would you? Because if your free national name is free and allodial and actually tangible, why would you take some fake stuff that doesn't mean anything and try to attach that to a free name that
I'm agreeing with that, but I find that it's the same problem we have right now trying to rent a place or something, right? We need to sort of combat in that corporate thing, because really we should be able to just walk down the street and say this is our temple.
yeah, we should. If Moors did what they were supposed to do from 1913, we wouldn't be having an issue.
Well, okay, so and I would happy to be there. I'm
Right.
just saying I'm dealing with today.
Yeah,
here, right
no, but that's
now.
what I'm saying. Explaining that the reason why it seems like it's so challenging. Like how come we can't just go do this? How come we can't just go to the bank and say, yo, my name is LB and I want an account in that name? Because it hasn't been done since they assassinated the prophet.
We've got all that work to do. I'm just wanting to be clear on that.
That's how much
because-
work there is to do.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I think part of trying to, sorry to be so whatever, but part of I think this battle is having to battle on two fronts, or not battle on two fronts, come into my own on one front, but then keep the battle up on the other front and understand that front until that front crumbles. It's like if everyone's using knives over here, I got to step over here with a knife.
Yeah.
Even though really I should just be coming with my heart.
Well, I mean, if everybody's over knives over there, it'd probably be better for you to go over there with a gun.
Point.
Why go over there and be in the same,
No, I'm agreeing with that. But
You
what I'm
know what I'm
saying,
saying? right? Because it's the dictating thing. It's the victimization thing.
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, metaphorically speaking.
Whoever controls the person's right determines the course of peace. Right? It's a jujitsu concept. So you want to play your game, not play their game, because you want to
bring them into your sphere of power.
Right. So
peace is the ultimate aim at the end.
right. So our sphere of power is knowledge over anything else. Because with knowledge, you can, like for example, with knowledge, Tallahassee got out of his stuff. Just getting stopped. Just lights on behind you, just tell you on more, whatever. The guy says, you know what, okay, I don't want to do this, here's a $25 ticket. But he doesn't have no insurance, you're supposed to get a ticket for that. License is suspended, you're supposed to get a ticket for that.
You're just going to drive away
Right?
from there.
You're not even supposed to be able to drive away from there. So, it's like what Yasin was pointing out, like we have to locate the wins. Don't look at the negative stuff that's going on, but really check the win. Even though you might need a magnifying glass to see that win. It's better you look at that.
Well, and also, well, that's what I'm saying. I sort of had a feeling that the battle was done. I guess.
Right.
And when I heard that, I was like, man. What I realized is it's just getting started.
It's just started.
And this is, of course, they're going to have to lay down the groundwork on this. They ain't giving it up easy.
Right. We're not coming into nothing right now that's established.
Well, that's part of what. I'm happy because I know I can bring fresh. I can bring a lot to it. As I said, I felt a sense of warmth. I know it's still there, but what I do know is that there's a lot of coldness just outside here.
Yeah.
We've got to, it's like the light, and we got to warm everything up. Right?
But again, it's coldness because of our mentality of why those people seem cold out there. Those people out there are really cold. We're the ones that aren't approaching them in the right perspective so we can get warm from them.
Well, I think I like that, but okay.
Right? You know what I mean? Like for example, European, right? Like there's a brother, right, in Montreal right now who's studying Moorish information, European. He's studying Moorish information harder than people who come to class here. As a European, right? And that's why Noble Drew Ali said, if the European's going to help me, then why not? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? If the European's going to go out of his way, right, to put Pleasant Bay's book, Exhuming of a Nation, right? A European's going to go out of his way to put that book on the front page of his presentation, his lecture or whatever, right? He's going to go over and beyond to promote this Moor's book. And there's Moors that don't even have that book in their library. And then they say that they're Moors and that they're for Moors and, unity and whatever. Okay, you have Pleasant Bay's book? Well, I don't really like Pleasant Bay because, he started this man thing and he's trying to control stuff. And yeah, but like, what's the problem? How come you haven't bought his book? Well, okay, let's forget Exhuming of it. Okay, well, why don't you have Alim Bay's book? He has a book about Moors. You ever bought his book? Well, I was watching that debate with him and Seti, and I really think that, Seti did better than him, so I don't think I'm going to support his book. Like, this is the mentality of people.
You're talking about is we're a fractured populace, which is.
Yeah, but here's the way I explain it is like, if you notice, each of these examples is like people needing a reason to support the brothers' stuff when everything else they do, they don't need a reason. They go down the street and not even thinking, but quick, fast, just throw $5 away.
No problem. Buy a Coke and it's nothing.
Like nothing. There's no. They don't sit there and debate with themselves. Well,
should I buy a Coke? Should I buy a Pepsi? Should I buy a juice? They just spend the money.
That's where I think the spiritual battle, we have been that badly hurt by it, right? Because we hate ourselves.
But we're not. But see, and this is why it keeps going back to the prophet, because we're not supposed to hate ourselves. We're supposed to love ourselves. That's the first rule when you come in. Love. Yeah. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. First rule is love. Know thyself. Right? That's the foundation.
And then you all even said, I'm going to teach you more to love.
Because the only way that we're going to get back in power is under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We're not going to get back in power by putting truth first or putting, justice first. We want to go kill the crackers because of what they did to us mentally and psychologically, and we need to pay them back. We don't need to pay back anybody for anything.
We just need to get on.
We just need to get on. Right? it's like it's like all these books right here. Like everybody wants to know about Noble Drew Ali. Okay, well Taj has books, Hakeem Bey has books, um, Amir Heru has books. Like everybody has books. Everybody has literature out there on the Moors, but people don't want to support that. They're not gonna go buy those books on the Moors that Moors wrote, right? You know, Pleasant Bay wrote a book on Noble Drew Ali, and Pleasant Bay is a Moor, right? And then Noble Drew Ali is a Moor, and then Moors aren't gonna buy that book. We're not even talking about the people outside. We're talking about the people inside. The thousands of people that say, yeah, I'm Moorish American. All right, well, if you're Moorish American, you should have Pleasant Bay's book.
So what do you attribute that to?
One, misinformation, right? People being mis mis mistaught, misinformed, right? I also attribute that to just lack of support in our own, as far as people who are on this level of information are concerned. You know, right? People who aren't going to support, people who aren't going to buy his book because of something that they heard somebody say, right? Of course, this, you know, regardless of what's in there, you're supposed to support it. Make a decision after you digest what's been presented. You can't judge a book by its cover. You have to read the book, and then you make a judgment call on whether this book's good or whether this book's crap. You never use it again.
You're saying that they've been undermining us even before we've even taking in information.
Right.
What I think is that it's my understanding of what I've read. I don't know if it's
Yes,
but we
it was
don't,
all about learning.
and we have not had that.
Yeah, but why haven't we had learning in North America?
But even so, we haven't had it. But I feel that as time goes and as the movement grows, and as we stress and build that into the movement, it's going to change. Because the comments that you make about this person is should be that thing or whatever, everybody that has that idea is not well, you know, like you'll find that to me that was going to get there. Eventually you will find a little depth as they get more into it. But I don't think you could. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, no, not that it's gonna happen overnight, but
We don't really.
but
Anyway.
right.
Anyway,
Which is part of the point of, you know, why we have to consider anybody who has something to say about Noble Drew Ali, because, you know, we don't, like, if we don't read and we never heard about Noble Drew Ali before, right? Then as soon as it's presented, we should be running for it, just for the simple fact that we never heard about it before.
They're not there yet.
Well, right, and
Reading and learning and all that.
but they are there. But they are there because Noble Drew Ali said this is a Moorish, divine, and national movement. So the people who there's majority of people who like one of the brothers, the brother who assisted us with the or who we assisted with the Feed the Hungry program in December, right?
Yeah.
That brother, that brother had a conversation, and he's saying, well, yo, it's crazy how there's so many people who the cap fits, but they won't wear it. right? But see, it's right. But it's not. See, that's the thing. That passive nature of not wearing the hat, even though it fits, is what the problem is. That idea of, well, we have to wait for the time to do it, or well, oh well, the people aren't really on that level of information, so we can't dump it all on them. Yeah,
No.
dump it all on them.
No, I'm not saying we don't dump it, but I'm saying don't be frustrated that they're not going to respond.
Oh no, not even. I mean,
Because
them not responding is to their detriment.
So many generations for you to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
and that was 99 years ago.
Yeah, but that's still what he said.
Right?
He understood.
But see,
But he understood though that like
it's not gonna happen overnight.
yes,
right?
And it's going to take that period of time. Some of them are going to be ready before others are ready.
Right.
Some of them are more enslaved mentally than others.
Exactly. It's different degrees, different levels of mental enslavement, and everybody has to go through their own growth process, guaranteed. But
And some of them are not going to make it.
right, and some aren't gonna make it. That's why he said, what's all these Moors doing here? I could count how many Moors are gonna be saved and have fingers left over. So he knew. It's not like he didn't know that the numbers in the temple were going to dwindle down to just a handful, and out of that handful, he's going to have fingers left over of who's going to be saved and who's going to give up their name for a morsel of bread, right? So, but I mean, you can't. If we're adults, we can't be beyond babysitting and stuff like that anymore. It's not for the person who's on the receiving end and for the person who's relaying the message, right? The people on the receiving end have to step up their ante, even if they're not ready for it. They have to consider it, because what is being presented to them, as far as what the Moors are presenting, is their stuff. It's not like it's the Moors thing and we're trying to tell them to come get this. We're throwing them their stuff and saying, here's your stuff. Pick it up. Take it. Use it. Do with it what you will. Because that's the only way anything's gonna happen. And we continually do what we do because we know that it's not gonna be done overnight. It would be great if everybody could get the light bulb at the same time and we get out of this madness. But everybody's on different degrees, and not everybody's not gonna get it at the same time. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And and in that understanding that not everyone's either gonna get it or really be attuned with it, like you said, one of you mentioned Ferrari sort of foresaw that, but still, you know what I mean, set up what he set up and knew that eventually we would come into our own, right? Even slowly but slowly. So, and since it's President's Day as well, I'm going to read this, a letter to be read at every meeting. Be proclaimed in every meeting. I'm glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is to the faithful Moors that contribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Islam. Never before have I needed finances as badly as I do at present, that I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my work in which I have performed in the last few months, because I was at the governor's inauguration to represent the Moorish divine and national movement, and I will be at the inauguration of President Hoover for the same cause. Noble Drew Ali. Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, 3603 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, January 18, 1929. Okay. So there we see that this connection with the governmental aspect, right, of this part of the world is there. There was Drew Ali with the Congressman Dupree. There's Drew Ali going to the governor's inauguration, and then he said he's going to be going to the inauguration of President Hoover. So in other words, like she said, this is not something that is like we're asking people to come and join this group or something. This is something that we're making people aware that they have. Like, you have this. Right? Drew Ali set this up or reestablished something that was empowered through what he set up. Right? So I'll just read a little bit of what the priest, Oscar the priest, going back to him. I'm very anxious that those of my racial group should be better acquainted with the Constitution and thereby more clearly understand their rights. There are several states of the Union that base their suffrage upon the ability to read and interpret the Constitution. Wishing to carry on a campaign of education on the Constitution, I'm writing to ask for cooperation in getting this matter before churches, schools, and societies of every description with which you are associated. If you can consistently do so, will you have the people read and discuss the Constitution and the amendments thereto section by section until they become thoroughly acquainted with it? As loyal American citizens, we owe allegiance to the laws of our country and should know the contents of this document in order that we may protect our rights accordingly. When one understands the Constitution, he or she will be in a position to ask his or her congressional candidate for support of every section and every amendment to the Constitution. Those candidates who are not willing to do so should not be elected to office. Those who are willing to do so should be earnestly supported and elected. So that's Oscar the priest giving us some advice on what we should be doing, on top of all the things that Drew Ali brought, which he mentioned. One of his quotes is quoted as saying, "I brought you everything you need to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself." Right. So when you're looking through that, and then also that it's a divine movement, and that he also said, "Everything I speak is spirit. Every word I speak is spirit, so you more the better heed." Right? So with those two compasses now, right, we look at everything else that he said, right, knowing that everything is spirit and that he brought everything we need. And when he said he brought everything we need, he meant all the things that he said and wrote all the literature, right, and everything that he set up.
It's all for us. It was all for us to help free us.
Right. Study it. Right. Study it. Study the Constitution, which is what our ancestors, our founding fathers established. Right. Study all these things. And so it's these things aren't only on one level, right? This is a divine and national movement. So then obviously there's going to be governmental stuff that you can bring to people, spiritual stuff that you can bring to people, educational stuff, basic civics, right? Stuff that even children should be learning, because he said, Oscar Dupree said, wishing to carry on a campaign of education on Constitution, I'm writing to ask your cooperation in getting this matter before churches, schools, and societies of every description with which you are associated. That wasn't Drew Ali. That was Oscar the priest, right? A congressman. That was a congressman saying, like, go into the church and tell it. Go into the school and tell it. Go into every type of a society of every description. It's not about it's not about well, what, you know what I mean? When you start talking, and somebody else, well, because they'll do that. They'll ask you, well, what is this organization? They'll want to know the who's and the where's and the when's instead of asking the what, the how, and the why. Like they want to know all of those minor details instead of asking the major details. And when you know someone's asking you the minor details, they're not dealing with anything, right? Because it's the how and the what that is that that second level, right? The second heaven, and then it's the why, that's the third heaven. Why is the only question? Why is the only thing that exists? Like why is beyond all the other.
Interesting enough, isn't Y chromosome woman chromosome? That's
right. Yeah, the woman, right?
Y is the man. XY is the man.
The man, sorry.
XX.
Yeah.
Right, and then that's the whole concept. Why? Like why are we missing a chromosome? Why do we have Y? Y is a crooked letter that can't be made straight. Right? Y is 360 divided three ways. Right? Which is 120, 120, 120. Or 100% divided by 3, which is 33.33333 on forever. Right? That's why. Like why is deep? Why is deeper than everything? Any other question you could ask. So if you're telling somebody something and they're not asking why,
Or they're living in sin because they're missing the point. And the more you miss the point, the more you delve into the depths of sin, which is death, which is blackness, which is where we put ourselves. And only we have to bring ourselves out of that. You can't expect them to do it because they're never ever. Yeah, you know what I mean? Why would they? That's not to their benefit. That's not to their advantage.
Well, I mean, that's where I get into other stuff because I think you said it too, Dave, and maybe we can wrap it up or whatever. You would hope that there would be a set of people that would want to see. I mean, I've read some stuff that sort of speaks of this slave trade and stuff, which is what sort of we are the result of. I mean, say that the Moors basically started this all off.
Yeah.
Right? So you think to yourself, well, though what you read from that is that they were basically looking to be very sort of benevolent and helpful, and or at least, or it seemed that they didn't, at least from the literature I reading, that they weren't as evil as it seems that things are this way.
And then that's a good point because there's different sins, right? They say there's 7 deadly sins, and if we were hiring people as slaves to go carry water, to fluff my pillow, to tickle my left toe, and then the other tickle my third toe on the bottom. That's called sloth, right?
Yeah.
That's like laziness, or the word that they use in the Bible, sloth, right?
Yeah.
And that's a deadly sin.
So you're saying we were
It's like a deadly way of being off the mark, right? And we're off the mark in that respect, that's for sure. Like forget, maybe some of us were cruel. There's stories of us, some certain Moors being cruel, and then certain people inherit, like, you know, Turks, Arabs inherited certain things, inherited like the slave trade, their portion of it,
well, we can't get
and
mad.
they took it as however they wanted to take it. But like, right, we can't get mad because we were off the mark. Like, no, you're not supposed to be lazy about it. And if you weren't so lazy, then you wouldn't have really needed to have slaves around and that.
You were saying we created this, or we allowed this problem to become the one it is.
Right. Islam.
Anything else there? We'll just finish out with a little reading. I'm gonna read from Amir Peru Ranisi L. This land is your land. This land is your land. And we're just gonna go back to when we were talking about trustees and all that. And the trust. A trustee, this is page 45. Well, this is the book right here. Right? This land is your land. A trustee is defined as one who, having legal title to property, holds it in trust for the benefit of another, and owes a fiduciary duty to that beneficiary. The sheikhs were the trustees of the Moorish nation. Fiduciary is defined in Black's law as one who owes to another the duties of good faith, trust, confidence, and candor. Candor means honesty, directness. As you can see, this is the standards the sheikhs were to be held up to. After the trustees were appointed, said group could choose a corporate name, which is a name that business would be transacted under. However, it would still be rooted in autonomous ecclesiastical provisions of the Herds Revised Statute. An affidavit was to be filed with the county, which is an act of a sovereign, not a petition asking permission for the privilege to do something. After these steps were taken, said group would be considered a body politic. Body politic is defined in Black's law as a group of people regarded in a political rather than private sense and organized under a single government authority. So according to this one paragraph, 164, section 35, the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, duly chartered and organized by way of Herds Revised Statute, is an autonomous ecclesiastical political government whose trustees are styled as sheikhs, held to the highest of standards. Due to the limited space, we will paraphrase some more of Herds Revised Statute, chapter 32. Upon incorporation of the said group, any personal or real property held by any person or trustees shall immediately confer ownership of property and be subject to its control, and may be used, mortgaged, sold, or conveyed the same as if it had been conveyed by such corporation by deed. But no conveyance or mortgage can be made to affect or destroy the intent or effect of any grant, legacy, or donation. Legacy is defined in Black's law as a gift, be will, especially of personal property and often money. Any group formed for religious purposes under the Herds Revised Statute for the incorporation of religious societies may receive land by gift, legacy, or purchase, and may erect and build thereon houses, buildings, or other improvements, as it may deem necessary for the convenience or comfort of the said group, church, congregation, or society, and may lay out and maintain thereon a burying ground. Later on in this section, 42, it speaks about how 10 acres of any acquired land will not be taxed. Keep in mind, the usage of Herds Revised Statute by the MST of A was a step in the right direction of sovereignty. We of the third and fourth generation of Moors must follow through with completely autonomous, sovereign, self-sufficient government recognized by the governments of the earth as a part of the family of nations. The trustees, sheikhs, shall have the care, custody, and control of real and personal property of the corporation, subject to the direction of the congregation. Grand Body, Act 1, Divine Constitution. And may, when directed by the congregation, church, or society, erect houses, buildings, or improvements, and repair and alter the same, and may also, when directed, mortgage, encumber, sell, and convey any real personal estate of such corporation, and enter into any lawful contracts in the name and in behalf of such corporation. If you notice, all power and decision-making ability of the trustees are limited by the grand body, termed in Herds Revised Statute as congregation, church, or society, which is in complete harmony with our divine constitution, Act 1. The trustees, sheikhs of such incorporated society would have the power to publish, print, circulate, sell, or give away such religious Sabbath tools and missionary tracts, periodicals, or books as deemed necessary for the promotion of religion and morality. Remember, Moors, it is within our power, while also our duty, to circulate information relative to our national and divine mission.
Islam.
Islam. And we'll just make that spot the close out for today. Tomorrow we're gonna be live again for our Tuesday Morris class, and we're looking forward to continuing the barrage on Black History Month. We have probably like a week or something left, 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
So the work continues. Also, just to put the word out there, we're going to be attempting to stream the Taj lecture next weekend, which is the 26th of February. So stay tuned for that. If it's not streamed, then we'll have it up on YouTube, or we'll have the DVD or whatever available. So on that note,
Islam family,
Islam all
rise. Give honors to the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Islam
Came to save the nations, and coming as he did, looking like us, talking like us, came to us because, like he said, we needed him the most. So we give thanks. And 5 on the left and 2 on the right. Allah, the mother and father of the universe.
Allah, the mother and father of the universe.
The mother and father of love.
Mother and father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide. And our salvation. By night. And by day. Through his and her holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Amen. Ameen. Ashe. Hotep. Sila. Islam.